It's good to see you today. Thank you for being here. Welcome, welcome. We are really blowing through these discourses. I'm loving it. And this week, our co host is William Price. Welcome, William, from Austin, Texas. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you too, man.
Welcome, everyone.
I used to live in Austin. I thought I'd never move, and then I found myself in Maine. Funny. I was in Florida for a while, then Boston, now Maine. And I just got back from a weekend intensive in Canada. I was there for 3 days doing at the Samadhi Center for self-inquiry. And it was the most rigorous, hard work in a spiritual path I've ever experienced. It was really hard. And we did dyads for 25 hours. One day was 16 hours solid from 6:15 a.m. till 11 p.m. And I watched 5 people have full awakening experiences, and 3 people had really glimpses of their true nature. It was just so fulfilling. If you ever have a chance to look up awakentheworld.com. Dan Schmidt, he's one of the creators. He created the Samadhi film series, and he's one of our partners in the Awakening Mind documentary that is very close to being published. I'm going to share a link for the latest trailer before we finish today. I'll share a link and you can all capture it and just watch it. It's a minute and a half trailer. And I think it's going to be published in May, the 1st of May. We're just waiting for the cast to look at it, sign off on it, and it will be ready to go out to the public. We're very excited about it, and we're hoping that it will hit nearly 1 million views in the first week or so. And that won't be a big thing for Dan Schmidt. He has 500,000 viewers on his YouTube channel. So it might be just easy to happen. And thank you all that are here that have participated in helping to produce this film with your financial support, because we couldn't have done it without your help. And we'll get into this series. This is another really great series. And I was thinking about this as what we're doing here in the book study as I was driving back from Canada. It's about an 8-hour drive. And for 6 of those hours, I was listening to Adyashanti's last book a few years ago, The End of Your World. And if you've had an awakening experience, a real awakening experience or strong glimpses, or if you just have an interest, The End of Your World really will help you to understand how awakening, the awakening experience occurs, and different little nuances of the awakening experience that would be helpful to know in advance, so you don't just kind of fumble or end up in the dark. And one of the things I was recognizing as I was listening to Adyashanti driving home was that one of the benefits of the book study, of this experience right here, is the more that you are listening to the truth, the more we're listening to the context and the content of our true nature, the more our attention is on our true nature, and the more we're becoming familiar with that pointing and that direct experience. And it's very, very valuable in developing and then recognizing and living in your true nature. So I just want to share that with all of you. And I know I blah, blah, blah. We'll get started with the book study now. And thank you for listening. Well, William, we're on Discourse 71.
Yes.
The direct method explained. I love it.
Yes. It's great. The the transition from the body mind to the awareness is, it takes time sometimes, as Rupert and others explain. And it doesn't mean we don't enjoy sensations, perceptions, and emotions. They're there for a reason. Even the ego's there for a reason,
Yep.
So
Even that. And in fact, William, in these discourses today, we're going to recognize that those things are also I am. Those things are the true nature as well.
That's right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's just beautiful. I love how he laid this out. In this first discourse, he says, by examination of the subjective element in man or woman from the body backwards to the I principle, it is proved to be pure knowledge or consciousness itself.
Yeah.
And that's why, when we talk about these things, there's a subtle examination occurring right then.
That's right. It's like Douglas Harding, an English guy. I think he's dead now, but yeah, he has that finger pointing toward yourself, right? And it's really pointing at what's behind the outer manifestation, right? Which is like in the Gita, Krishna tells his, friend Arjuna, who's really himself, right? Hey, I support this whole physical thing by a fraction of myself, right? So the noumenal, or the unmanifest part, is like huge, immense, compared to what we actually perceive and sense.
Right. Yes, of course. Yeah, amazing. What else did you see on this 71 that stood out that you would like to bring mention to?
It's the last paragraph I thought was really good. That thus both subjective and objective, or as I call it, phenomenal and noumenal, when properly analyzed, are reduced into the ultimate, which is neither subject nor object. It's like, I am all this, known and unknown. To know this beyond all doubt and to establish oneself there is the direct method. And that finishes it.
Well, and that's, what he's saying here is really, really primary in the direct experience as a full-time experience. As when he says just above that short that paragraph above there, he says similarly, taking one stand. So that's a clue. Taking one stand in the mind and examining perceptions, it is found that perceptions are nothing but thoughts. Lastly, examining thoughts and feelings by the use of vidya vritti, or functioning consciousness. So now you're established as functioning consciousness. It is found that they are consciousness itself, the ultimate subject.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to allow everything to be exactly as it is, because when you're trying to push things away or suppress them, you're dividing yourself, and in a subtle way you're inviting the separation.
Yeah, by resistance. Yes.
Right.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yep. Wow. So moving to Discourse 72, this is another awesome little discourse of rich content. What is this? What is a sage?
I love this particular one. There are no sages, and there really is no sage. There's just the one. There's just, if you, in religious terms, God. There's no separate sages. We might want to call somebody that. There's only one guru, there's only one sage. It's consciousness itself. And I made a note in the sidelines here on the third paragraph, that as long as, the acorn is the same as the great oak. They're one and the same, just different ways of looking at. That great oak is really the tree of life, symbolically. All of life, all the motion of the one. And you might see yourself as the acorn, or you may not, but the acorn and the tree of life are one and the same, so don't worry about sage, just worry about awareness, not separate like gurus and so on like that. There's no point. We're really all the same.
I am you. Looking at me. I am each one of you looking at me.
Yes.
Funny. That first paragraph, or just below the first paragraph in this Discourse 72, I love this sentence. It says, when one's attention, now put yourself in this seat right here. When one's attention is directed to consciousness. So when one's attention is directed as awareness, the material part of perception drops away as unreal. So the limited self-identity, the personal self-identity, drops away as unreal. And that's it. That's where this ends up. And that's why these book studies, these are in sort of, they're fun, they're nourishing, and they're also entrainment in a way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I liked also in the third paragraph, just to clarify, he said in the second sentence, he says, his deep conviction that consciousness has not undergone any change by all these apparent manifestations keeps him at his center and never disturbs him, as it does a sadhaka. Sadhaka somebody doing sadhana, right? Or it comes from like in India, you see, you were there recently, Bill, you see all these like Shivite sadhus, right?
Yep.
It means like a pure person, really, in Sanskrit. And yogis is another word for it, real yogis. Um,
Well,
you,
and you could also say that one who awakes, or one who knows their true nature, each one.
yeah, but some people think it's like this long and arduous journey and all this stuff, but the direct path doesn't see it that way.
Right, right.
So
It does take time.
you don't have to bend yourself in contortions doing weird hatha yoga things. And I mean, but it's a great way of like initiating people. Hey, there's more to this than what I've been led to believe. And even though they might be doing it for health or flexibility or whatever, it's like opening a door. And so I salute that, you know, that's great, because it's everybody has their open the window at some time or other.
Yeah, yeah. There's a part of it just below the first paragraph when that I read that says just below that, where it says that when one's attention is directed to consciousness, the material part of perception drops away as unreal. It is after every perception that we are to emphasize the consciousness aspect of our activities. That's a clue. That's a clue, because when I came back from that intensive, I mean, it was so hard. I almost wanted to drive around to leave when I looked at the schedule Friday night, that the next day was 16 hours of dyads that only had three 40-minute meals and a few bathroom breaks. Otherwise, it was constant. And the mind is going, holy shit. This is aggressive. But when I watched these people wake up, I watched these experiences. There was a guy who's sitting in front of me, knee to knee, we're looking at eye contact for 40 minutes each session. And he wouldn't give me eye contact when he would speak the first night. By the third day, he knew himself, and I was looking directly at the essence of I am in his direct experience, where he fully knew the self. So these things really do, the activity that's being suggested here, where he says, to at the end of your perception, to emphasize the consciousness aspect of our activities, to just pause into that, and 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 even investigate, who are you, who am I, or what am I? And it brings you to what Atmananda is saying here. There's a Is there something else on that page that you would like to look at, William?
Um, yeah, it's like one of the neat things about this section is that every perception or sensation or whatever really can become the pointer back to awareness, because they're all pointers towards that. And instead of getting lost, they all become like signposts back to what I call the ontological primitive, or the basis of being, ontology being the philosophy of being, right? That being is the primary, or sat, as they say, is the primary reality. We don't know how to describe it, but it is. It is what is.
Yes, it is beyond description. Yes.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. I like this line here that says, just a third paragraph from the bottom, just as the gold you purchase does not undergo any change in itself by being worked into a ring, so also consciousness does not undergo any change by merely appearing as objects. So the objects of experience are not separate from what you are. They just need to be, you identify as that which never changes, which always is, and then you pick up the object as arising out of you, out of your essential self. Yeah. Then the last paragraph, manifestation. I like this. This is talking about manifesting. Manifestation, or being known, implies consciousness. When you say consciousness manifests itself, immediately your attention is drawn to the consciousness part of it. So also in the manifestation of objects, all manifestation proves the consciousness aspect beyond doubt. So form proves consciousness. And I, you're going to see in this film, and when you watch this trailer, you'll see even in the trailer that Donald Hoffman says that science is moving closer. In fact, he's written papers and is writing new work on this, new theories and math that is showing that consciousness is fundamental to reality. And
Yeah.
once that's established, then materialism as an idea that it's fundamental to reality, it goes out the window.
Yeah, I just picked up his book, The Case Against Reality, Why Evolution Hid the Truth from Our Eyes. And I can't wait to dig into it. That was a very moving discussion he had with Rupert. And yeah, I think you mentioned this last week, Bill, that some of the math and stuff, Rupert might have like rolled his eyes or something, but because but Jenny wouldn't. Jenny would understand, I think, but because she's into math and so on. So, but
well, she also had a great conversation with Donald a couple of months ago that is in the Awareness podcast. If anyone
I'd love to see that.
Well, you can see it and you can hear it. It's on iTunes, and I'll ask Lindsay or someone to post it in here so that others can watch it.
Yeah, I don't have iTunes, but
yeah, well, it's YouTube, iTunes, Buzzsprout. It's on many different platforms.
Probably if we just search for Jenny and Donald, we can find it.
You can. And what's different with Jenny brings it into, she really asks questions and invites Donald to share the scientific aspect of consciousness in the way that she forms her questions. So
Yeah,
it'd really be worth listening to.
it's really a thrilling time to have this fusion of spiritualism, end quote, so-called, and science, uh, seeing this emerge from I mean, it's been somewhat of a battle for hundreds of years, right? And um, now it's coming together,
Yeah.
and it's lovely. I got to see what Jenny just said.
So just to mention, Amy mentioned that somebody's got their mic open. It may be Monique. I'm not sure if it's you. It's somebody that may be on a cell phone. I can't see it on the board, but it's causing a little bit of feedback. Thank you. It's whenever I speak, and I think it's I mean, if I close my mic, you won't hear. It can't be me. It has to be one of you.
I could turn off mine too and see what happens.
Okay, turn if okay, so William has his off. Has it gone away? Is it William's mic? It might be yours, William. Okay, they don't hear it now. So I think it might be William, do you have another device open at your place?
Um, Not a TV or anything. I've got a tablet. I'll turn it off,
Okay.
but it's not on Zoom.
All right. Well, I don't know what it would be causing it, but it is
No,
coming.
it it was off actually. I just accidentally turned it on. But anyway,
Okay. So let's move to 73. How is the unknown behind everything proved to be only one? Yours is making a lot of noise, William. Oh, you're putting your mic on, your headset on.
yeah,
I think that might have cleared it up.
great.
Okay, good job. Thank you. How is the unknown behind everything proved to be only one? Now you've got a different kind of feedback. That's funny. Okay. It says in that first paragraph, whatever is perceived can be explained only in terms of the instruments used for the purpose of that perception. So their findings cannot be final. When, however, you withdraw to the I principle, and this is another important little clue. When you withdraw to the I principle, in other words, when you bring your attention as awareness to the I principle, consciousness, and examine the thing through it, the thing is found to be consciousness or the I principle. This is a real important piece because you are established as the I principle first by moving your attention as awareness and then including the phenomenal or the objects or the perceptions that are occurring. What else did you see in this discourse, William?
Uh, I love the short kind of, I don't know, it's set aside like a poem. I perceive objects through the senses. I perceive the senses through the mind, taking mind and buddhi or intelligence as one generic mind. I perceive the mind.
Your mic went off.
I thought that was great. The just to go off for a little bit. There's these movies. I think it was Brazil or something, but Terry Gilliam, the guy who was in the Monty Python, right? Makes all these movies. And the character, he's like sitting in a room and there's all these pneumatic tubes coming in, right? And these are like, so I took it as an analogy of like the senses, like hearing, seeing, sensation, and so on. And then this guy's like mind, and mind but mind itself is just another one of the tattvas, as they say in Kashmiri Shaivism, another tool of consciousness. So I call it the central scrutinizer, but really it's like a middleman there between consciousness and the so-called phenomenal world, right?
Mm. Yeah.
But it's like Rupert's analogy. I don't know if you remember it, but it's about you're watching a stage play, and then you're sitting in somewhere near the front, and then there's a guy in the last row watching the guy in the front and the stage at the same time, and you're all of them and the players on stage. And I thought that was like a powerful reminder.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what Jenny just alluded to. She said, everyone, sage or not, is always at his or her true self at true self, and is not a separate self, but not necessarily knowingly. That's like key.
Right.
Sages do fall into ignorance from time to time, but their default setting is abiding as awareness. Yep. Yeah. It does take time for that to be your new default. I was listening to when I was listening to Adyashanti coming home from Canada. He said in this book that I was listening to, it took him 6 years after awakening to really be established. And he found himself making mistakes all over the place, just like people that come in front of him now. He was just describing himself to be just like the rest of us. There's a real bad background feed on that new mic you got there, but I don't know how to stop it.
Did that help?
Yep. What'd you do?
Unplugged it.
Nice. That helped a lot. Okay, let's move on to 74. What is Anubhava, or what is experience? And this is a really important discourse. So let's really look at this. It says experience is the absolute. So experience is the absolute. Everybody has Anubhava or experience. Everyone has experience every moment of his or her daily life. At the end of every action, perception, thought, or feeling, there is experience. But as it is beyond even the mind, we do not usually note it or understand it as it really is. We wrongly attribute experience to the lower field of expression, namely feeling, which is the highest standard of worldly experience in our traffic with relative things. One has only to understand it correctly, another clue, and see it as the only reality in this world. Experience is that state, which is no state at all, where even feeling expires. In all experiences, there is nothing other than yourself, the real I principle. The ignorant man or woman takes his or her feeling alone to be his experience or highest experience, since it is the highest in the scale of his relative experiences in which alone he or she moves. That's an important discourse.
That's amazing. I love the play of I don't think it's intended or not, but it's like during a piece of music or the notes on the page, it's the silence between the notes is that space-like field of awareness where the notes punctuate, but then they return. The same as the characters on the screen of awareness, our screen of awareness. The screen is all that's really there. And then these punctuation, the beauty comes through as perception and so on. And it's not to be disdained. I mean, these perceptions and notes and these are to be enjoyed as the beauty of phenomena against the screen. It's all part of the same thing. But can you imagine a world without color, for instance? How much richer it is to have the flowers and trees than it would be to have being in fog 24 hours a day. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. He says, I love this, the way he's giving attention to expression. And as you say, the enjoyment of this expression is part of consciousness, enjoying itself as itself.
Yeah.
It really does come into illumination. When one knows the self, everything changes from there. Okay, it looks like we found the YouTube. Thank you, Paul, for posting the YouTube of Jenny's conversation with Donald. Awesome. Everyone, you can just kind of click on that, save it, and then have it after for when you have time. And Dove, is that the same thing? Did you post the same thing? Yeah, you did. Thank you. And so let's move on to 75. What is Yanan, or the one who knows? What is the one who knows? Is experience, or truth, or the I principle. Thought must have an object, but consciousness has none. Feeling must have an object, but one who knows, or not one who knows, but experience has none. Anubhava. Feeling must have an object, but anubhava, or experience, has none. And then it says the I principle is experience itself. No, that wasn't from the conference, Shelley. That was an interview that Jenny did on the Awareness podcast. Do you have something you want to share from this Discourse 75, William?
Yes. The last where he said Anubhava has none, it's the same as Sahaja, as Rupert's publishing house, which I have actually been to in Berkeley years and years ago. And then he goes, the I principle is experience, as you said earlier, and is the end of the so-called worldly experience. And I made a note here, together with consciousness, beyond subject to object relationship. So it's like, that's where the witness and witnesship ends.
Yes. Yes. He says, if you want misery, be a worldly man. And if you want happiness, be a spiritual man or woman, understanding that happiness is in misery as well. Happiness is in misery as well.
It's ironic because Atmananda was the policeman and a householder, right? And I mean, he saw all the things that policemen see, right? And yet he was able to integrate that so uniquely into, there not being a separation.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredible. I used to read Ramesh Balsekar a lot, who was the Zagadatta's translator for many years. And I found out later, he was a very worldly guy in a way. He was the president of the Bank of India and a golfer and, all this stuff. But then Nisargadatta said, time for you to go teach, right? And he's an amazing person to check out sometime. He says some very, very startling things.
Cool.
Yeah.
The last sentence in this discourse, I am happiness, is my real nature at the impersonal level. But viewed from the relative sphere, the same thing appears as I am happy. And this is just establishing ourselves as our true nature so that we actually, the interface that interprets everything changes when that occurs. And Discourse 76, let me see if there's anything that I saw. There was something that Jenny mentioned. Feelings relate to the realm of mind, which in the Indian tradition is regarded as a higher realm than that of physical objects. But both realms are made out of consciousness. Yes. Thank you for that. Was that from the, okay, that's another statement. And then Rick mentions at 1240, the statement, happiness is in misery as well, is an important one. In other words, what we are transcends all states, full stop. It's a misunderstanding to associate our nature with any particular state. Happiness, what we are, is not a state, but misery certainly is. Yeah. And you can have, as the Atmananda says, that misery happens in happiness as well. Moving to Discourse 76. What do you see here that you want to speak about, William?
I love the beginning. unity is the cause of diversity and not the other way around. The thing in itself, the reality, is beyond both diversity and unity. Hundreds of years ago, Immanuel Kant, the philosopher, tried to classify everything into these orders, right? And he used that phrase, the thing in itself, in German, Ding im sich, the thing in itself. But the thing in itself is never the thing in itself, because there are no things.
Right. That's funny. Anything else on 76 you want to look at?
I just think it repeats what we know from a higher level. It's the background of all the
Yeah.
silence behind music, the screen behind the perceived sights, and the silence behind sound, and so it is that field. Let's just call it field instead of space, of because it has no dimension.
So moving to the next discourse, he's talking about time and space mostly. What is the thing in the unknown and in the known? And
I made a note, the a priori, that which is prior to what.
yes.
So it's what's prior to it, not in time, but in enfoldment, if you would, or unfoldment. Evolution and involution. It's what's prior to either of those occurrences. So, right. But not in time.
Right.
But
right.
for us to think about it, we have to use time. So and since we're using words, we're using the mind, right? As a tool. So, but I'd say, in Latin, a priori, that which is prior. The Zen koan, what was the face before you were born, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In paragraph 3, or what's listed as number 3, it says the past and future are produced by and dependent upon the present. When we examine more closely what we call the present, it vanishes into the past or future, leaving only an imperceptible point of time, which also flits into the past before you even perceive it. As soon as we put a label on it, as soon as we name it, as soon as we see it from perception, it flits into the past. And then he goes, so it comes to mean that the present remains only as a mere word, representing an agreement, so to say, between the past and the future to provide a common meeting ground for them. So the now is nowhere to be seen. That's it. The now is nowhere to be seen, because as soon as you put perception on anything, you brought it into time and space, and you took it out of now.
That is so profound. Yeah.
Yeah. If time is conceived as the background of the past, present, and future, it is the absolute itself. So, did you hear that? Time is the absolute itself.
Yeah, in Buddhist tantric iconography, Mahakala, the great time, right, is like this hideous, like scary looking black guy devouring the world with, all these teeth and everything. But I was at the Buddhist Shambhala Center, and they had a big poster of it in Tatanka. I said, you know, they make him look so scary, but he's like the sweetest, like being there is, because it's really beautiful, and 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 reality, the substance uses time as its plaything, and it's incredible because we're all kind of, I mean, to talk about it, think about it, and everything, we have to use it, right?
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating exploration.
Yeah, I love the comments on the board. Susan Wright says, I love the idea of the present, providing the common meeting ground for past and future. But the now is nowhere to be seen. Yes, yes. And then Ralph says, hi, Jenny. Recently, you made a comment that you did not like the direction in which Rupert is going. What did you mean by that? And Jenny said, this also relates to the knowledge there is something rather than nothing. One of the few things that Francis says we know for certain. I don't know if that was the answer to that question, but there was a question from Amy at 12:36 that says, what does he mean by feeling, which is the highest standard of worldly experience in our traffic with relative things? Maybe
Hey,
that was
Bill,
yeah.
it's Amy here. That's what the question that Jenny answered in your last
That's what I thought.
piece. Yep, you got it.
Yeah, thank you. I kind of put that together as I was reading your question. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jenny, and everyone for jumping in here. That's what makes this a super book study party that we can all enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. William, you want to look at 78? What do you have on 78 that stands
So,
out?
yeah. Let's see. Yeah. That's the, how can we put it? Maybe the quickening, or the the establishment, right? It's becoming increasingly clear, and I don't know if maturity is the right word, or just abidance, perhaps.
Well, the question is, how am I to order my life after awakening or realization?
That's
And
really a strange, obviously the students asking that, right?
yeah, and a
But
lot of people ask it all the time
yeah,
because
but
it's a need to know question.
I'm not sure about needing to know, because I there's absolutely nothing that isn't there to be done. I mean, or undone.
Yeah, that sounds good for someone who is on the other side of it. But for someone who's not established, just like it took 20 years before Rupert had his experience of awakening that he describes after meeting Francis. And Adyashanti says that it took him 6 years to be established after his awakening. And everyone that that has an awakening experience wants to, and even Eckhart Tolle, Byron Katie, all the great awakened uh, uh, examples that we know today had to go through years of understanding in order to be established. So this question that we have, you think you a lot of people say I had an awakening experience or I had a glimpse, and I keep falling back into this, like my old habits, my old patterns, and there's a legitimate question on the table that says, how am I to order my life after I've had my awakening or my glimpse? And that really is relevant.
I guess if you want to worry about things, it's relevant.
Well, of course we do. Until we're established, we all want to worry about things. Once you're established, that statement, it's meaningless. But the
Right.
questioner is not established, or it wouldn't have the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Happens
mean,
all the time.
I have compassion, for that situation, but it just, I mean, the apple's not going to fall from the tree until it's ripe.
Right.
You
Well,
can't you can't force the fruit to, ripen.
right, right. So let's keep going. In the second paragraph of 78, the answer is, after realization, you may live exactly as before. Chop wood,
Yeah.
carry water. The answer is only in terms of how another man sees your activities of life in both cases. Subjectively, you have undergone a definite change from your identification with the unreal to the identification with reality. So you can no longer lose your equanimity and become desperate, because you know you are perfect and changeless. So there's something that happens that's established that you now know. And so he's kind of saying what you're alluding to, that because you know you are perfect and changeless. And then he says, after establishing yourself at that center firmly, you will be able to engage in the usual activities of life, even with interest, as an ordinary man does, leaving all interest and activities to the mind, senses, and body, but never losing your center in the least. And that's like, oh, there's an end to my misery. There's an end to my uh, to my uh, back and forth, falling out of
Yeah.
out of what seems like losing myself in my old patterns.
Yeah. You're home, baby. Just realize it.
Right. Yeah. Well, you have that until you don't. And I think Rupert, Jenny Beale is a great example of that. Francis Lucille, you have life after awakening that's just normal. It's normal. I mean, Jenny is known, she's a statistician. She's also, like, Richard tells me that Jenny knows, I don't know how many bird calls, but she knows what birds sound like. She knows their voice and what they're saying, and I don't know if she knows their language, but she's like an expert on, and that's after, that's during and after awakening. You just have a normal life.
Yeah.
I like tractors. I didn't know I liked John Deere tractors. I like tractors.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so let's see. There's a question for Jenny from Leone. Jenny, I also am concerned about your comments on Rupert as I find his teaching so helpful after many years SES in London, where I chose to challenge the ideas about gender and imaging. I don't think we want to get on the Rupert and Jenny thing. Jenny is doing her thing, and we all have our different places that we go on the path. For many years, it was Rupert. Now it's Francis. I don't think we need to get engaged in this, please.
I agree.
Yeah. So let's move to 79. How can the apparent I progress to pure consciousness? How can the personal self, the apparent I, progress to pure consciousness?
It's just a thought, Bill. It's just a thought. Just give up the thought. No.
Well, Atmananda says to the ordinary man, the apparent I is a compound of consciousness and body, gross or subtle,
Yeah.
conceding for the time being the existence of the lower self. Let us proceed to examine its composition to eliminate from the I principle all the rest.
Which is your neti, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But and he's giving it in really logical terms. We
Oh,
see
it's
that,
great.
the
Yeah.
the body acts, the senses perceive, and the mind thinks and feels, but the I is found to be present in all these activities, knowing every one of them. So the first stage is that I am the knower of the body, senses, and mind. The I am standing separate from them. As the functioning witness or functioning consciousness in all activities. Examining this witness, we find that occasionally we experience a state where all objects disappear and consciousness alone remains. That is to say, the functioning part vanishes, and the second stage, functionless consciousness alone remains. This next paragraph is beautiful. It is so beautiful. For example, the sun shines, the ordinary
Yeah.
man takes it to be a function. But so far as the sun is concerned, it is never a function, but its very nature, because it can never remain even for a moment without shining. A function should necessarily have a beginning and an end. And so the you that you are, the me that I am, which is the same me and you, it can't not be shining as itself.
It's a great meditation to just like be the sun and just sit there being, because there's no time. You're filled with, light. There's nothing to measure distance against, and you're just there. I just found that an incredibly useful meditation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome.
And it's without a center. It's not like this body is the center. It's just this awareness is that center.
Yes. Yes.
So there's no ego to it. It's just being. But it's fun.
Well, and then Atmananda says, thus taking our position in functionless consciousness, The world as such disappears altogether. So we take our position there. The world as such disappears altogether, being transformed into consciousness itself. Boom. Boom. Enjoy. Proving thereby that even the manifested is consciousness alone. Even the manifested is consciousness alone. Thus, the third stage is that knowing is not a function, but the nature of consciousness. Therefore, it is clear that the I principle has never been the perceiving consciousness, but is pure consciousness or is pure awareness. And then he moves into talking about the path of devotion.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the bhakti is, has whatever he's object of devotion is to, whether it could be it could be a subtle object, like like a Buddhist, that nothing, which is still a concept, right?
Yeah.
And so it's an object. It's a very, very subtle object, but still there. But so, the devotee, really the whole path is instead of like, oh, Hare Krishna, right? You become Krishna.
Yes.
You become that.
Yeah.
And
Knowing.
that's what bhakti, knowingly, yes, that's what bhakti is all about. And I mean, people have been drawn and quartered over that realization. In Persia, Al-Halaj he made the utterance of Adal-Haq in Persian or Arabic. And I am that, basically. I'm that. And it was like considered blasphemy by the judicial, people. And so they killed him, right? He was a Sufi Christ, more or less.
Yep. It says in the second to the last paragraph, even after reaching the stage of objectless love through devotion, corresponding to pure consciousness through jnana, one has yet to understand that this objectless love is but the expression of that which can never be expressed. So everything is consciousness, everything is awareness, everything is you. The not the body mind, but the you that you are is everything. It's consciousness itself. This light can be obtained only from the real jnanan. And so even at this late stage, the devotee has to take direct instruction from the Karana guru to go beyond. In this new light, all doubts about the world stand automatically solved, and he or she sees the world as nothing other than the subjective self. And I don't totally agree with this. I don't think you really need a guru, as it's suggested here.
Well, I just say it doesn't have to be an external guru, right?
Yes.
There's really only one
Right.
guru.
Yes, true. Yeah. And it's the self, it's consciousness itself, which is the guru.
Yeah. Yep.
It says, in this connection, it is said that Shri
Chaitanya.
Chaitanya, yeah, after long years of experience of so-called objectless love, had to take instruction about the truth from one of the sages of Sri Shankara's order in order to get to the absolute. So we each find our teacher or inner teacher and realize the recognition of awareness of ourself and the knowing and with clarity, the knowing of that. And I love 80.
Yeah, short and sweet.
Yeah. You are knowledge and love, or you are knowing and love. You do not know anything but yourself. You do not love anything but yourself. So both knowledge and love have yourself as their object. Therefore, you are pure knowledge and love. Yes.
I know that I am love.
Yes. So I am going to share this. I'm going to share this trailer for all of you for the Awakening Minds new trailer. We're gonna. I put it on the chat if you want to grab the link and save it to your browser. This is our newest trailer for the documentary film. It'll be out in May. We're just asking the cast to look at it one last time before we publish it, putting the credits on it. And if you contributed to the film, your name is listed, and you can still contribute to the film. We're really trying to put our financial resources together so we can go out and film episode 2 right now. So you can still and continue to be part of this great undertaking that I have just loved. We've been working on it for 18 months now, and it's just about to be published as a reality. And this has been a great discourse. Thank you, William Price, for your input and your wisdom and your years of understanding these ideas and sharing that with us.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. And
You're
thank you
welcome.
all for the great chat.
Thank you. And next week we have Jenny Beal back. Thank you, Jenny, for the continued support and clarity that you give to these ideas and the pointing. And I'm looking for a co-host for May 10th and June 7th. So if you are, if you're available for May 10th or June 7th and you want to be a co-host, contact me, and you can you can jump in there. And we'll see you all next week. Thank you for being here. And don't forget to sign up for the conference that's coming up, April 21st to the 23rd. We have some great teachers. It's an immersion in the Many Paths One Self conference, and it's we have some great sessions that will be available for free for live, and we also have replays, and then we've opened a new community for the conferences, that is the Pure Presence Conferences community. And I'll see all of you next week. Okay, so Lindsay put a link in the chat if you want to click on that for the registration for the conferences. Before I close the room, you can click on that and put it on your browser so you can register for free. And I'll see all of you next week.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Love y'all.
Love you all.
Well, thanks everyone.
All right.
Great job, William.
Thank you.
Thank you.